This day in the news. Y'all are gonna love this one. So let's check this out. So, mother wonders if she was a jerk for buying a first class ticket for her toddler. So, the way this story breaks down, I don't know where it's at or anything, but a lady with her 2-year-old toddler and disabled husband were flying across the country for Thanksgiving. And so they decided to splurge and get first class tickets. No problem. You paid your money, you have that right. So as they're getting on, she says a man immediately starts glaring at them. We already know the type. So the flight attendant comes over and asks, to see their boarding passes. It's all standard and everything. She says, okay, y'all are good. Another lady comes over and asks the same thing. They get it squared away. Y'all are good. So the flight takes off. She says as her child fell asleep, coloring, and her husband was taking a nap during the flight, somebody tapped her on the shoulder, and it was that man who was glaring. And he tells her that children aren't allowed in first class and they need to go to their real seats. So the lady says, I'm not comfortable talking to you. And she gets the flight attendant who, again, verifies that the woman has every right to be there and that guy needs to sit down and basically mind his own business. So they finish the flight, and she says when they are getting off the flight, the guy whispers to her something to the effect of being, again, I didn't pay all this money to be surrounded by children, and calls her a fat see you next Tuesday. For those of you who don't know what that acronym is, just think of female reproductive parts. That word. Which, what does that have to do with anything? So the lady took it with a grain of salt. I don't know what more she could have done, but I have no question that this is just this guy just being completely entitled. And yes, while you do pay a lot of money to go first class, if you want to guarantee that you're not surrounded by kids, get your own damn plane, or just don't travel. Like there's nothing that says somebody else has to accommodate what you want when they are paying the same fare that you are. As a matter of fact, he paid one ticket. They bought 3. So if anybody, she could have told him, well, I didn't pay to be surrounded by, the likes of you. But she seemed to have held her ground as far as just being the best representative of herself. Now, again, she's traveling with her child and disabled husband, so I don't know what more she could have done. But guys, what are your thoughts? If you're paying for like a first class ticket, either side of it, because now she's wondering if she was wrong for purchasing the ticket for a toddler. But according to her account, the child didn't cry, was a good traveler. There were no issues. So why would the guy have been already triggered when the child hadn't done anything yet? Now, I do understand, like, when you get on a flight, when you're thinking, oh, damn, there's a kid, this is going to be a problem, kids fussy, this and that. But you know what? As little as I've traveled, children have seemed to have been the least amount of problems when it comes to this sort of thing. I would prefer a crying child over the person next to me. I had a guy one time was so drunk, he thought we were going to prom. Not he and I as a date, but he asked me if I was going to prom as well. Then he proceeded to fall asleep with his head on my shoulder. I'll take a crying child any day over something like that. What we see in the news when people are going crazy, getting drunk, yelling, things that are just way out of line. People trying the Mile High Club sort of thing, as adventurous as that might sound, it's still pretty unsanitary for the next person using the restroom or wherever they're trying to do that at. So there's a lot of things that are way worse than a child that may or may not be crying. Even just the person next to you, if they've got BO or anything. I don't want to body shame and say overweight, but I have been crowded into my chair by somebody who's a little bit larger. That's a whole different discussion as well. I wonder if this man would be upset if somebody was sitting next to him that was larger that should have paid for 2 tickets or something along those lines. There's just a lot of people who just want what they want when they want it, and they're not willing to think about what other people are going through as well. So again, what are your thoughts? You got a travel story? Give me a travel story that may or may not have anything to do with this sort of thing. But the last trip going to Florida with my daughter, we had a child that was, pretty fussy, kind of crying. After a while, it just tunes out. You put your headphones on, you watch your movie, and you just be grateful that you're traveling by plane, not by train, Greyhound, or even like at a different time in history by wagon or by foot, and that we just had the ability to take a certain trip and be able to go. So I'm going to leave it at that. But again, your comments, your advice, comment, experience, ace up the sleeve would be great. I hope this finds everybody in a place of or pursuit or just a mindset to get into, your total health of mind, body, and soul. And again, we'll see you on the next one. Peace, love, unity, solidarity.